Hello, welcome to another Real Raw Moment. And it's been a while, and I'm going to explain why in a little bit. Tonight's episode is entitled This Could Have Been Solved with a Phone Call. And also, which came first, the litigious client or the litigious lawyer? So, let me begin. Now, as always, before I begin, let me remind you that these are my real raw moments. They are my thoughts, my opinions, nothing more. I am not a licensed therapist, a doctor, a lawyer, or any other accredited body that can be used to give you advice that you can use in a court case, in your litigation, or just even in general life. As the internet says, this is for entertainment and informational purposes only. Okay? Ooh, look at that. I'm getting faster at it every time. All right, let's dive in. So there's a reason that I have not been doing videos. While I have been sitting here at my desk, I have been spending way more time than I would like on my current case. I'm not going to call it court case yet. I'm sure it will go there, but litigation, pre-litigation, whatever we want to call it. So I've been extremely frustrated with this process. Now, I have been through this process many times. I've been served many times. Every time by a different lawyer, same person serving me, different lawyer serving me. And each time there has been court, there have been resolutions, or things have been dropped. Each time, and including this time, there was no attempt to resolve anything with what I call, it could have been solved with a phone call. Now, I can already hear people chirping and saying, well, Natalie, you obviously don't have a good relationship with your ex, or I don't have that relationship. I can't do that. That's not possible. I'm going to argue that a little bit, but I'll speak to my own experience first. My ex and I, on and off, in between litigations, have had a fine relationship. In fact, a good relationship, to the point of after alienation the first time, and that being a found thing by a judge and being forced to go through reunification therapy. After that, things just went back to normal. In fact, the one thing that we agreed on was ending, the children and I, and him, ending reunification therapy because we hated it so much, and it was just brutal. That's another video for another day about my opinions on reunification therapy. Maybe I'll do that one later. To the point where we had family dinners in my home, celebrated birthdays, Thanksgivings, Christmases, swapped out time together. We were 50-50, but if somebody was traveling, we accommodated that. It was pretty fluid. We had the kids' schedules down. There wasn't really anything to carp about. COVID came, and we shared those duties too. If I can tell you, like during COVID, my ex got sick with COVID quite early on, like really early when things were in Ontario and things were really shut down. I'm the one who went to Costco and got his meds and took care of him, brought groceries. We just had that kind of relationship. And it's the kind of relationship that I wanted to was model for our children. That no matter what fight we had gone through, we can be mature adults. We can get along. We can be a family unit. And share the duties of, picking up from an event or an extracurricular, or going to parent-teacher meetings together, or figuring things out together. I'm saying all this to kind of give you a kind of a framework of the absurdity of every time it gets served, because it makes no sense. It is a roller coaster. It's the up and down, up and down, up and down. I am not going to talk about any disorders or my opinion on them. You can comment below if you have a feeling that you know what I'm going through, or you've been through it, or your findings and thoughts. I'm happy to listen. So there has been I'm going to call it a lack of communication between my ex and I over the past 3 years. My son has been re-alienated from me for the past 3 years. That is part of it. No matter how often I asked for information, I was rebuffed. I was just not even told anything, like nothing. And there's a lot more complications to this story, and I can't get into it right here for a number of reasons. I'm not going to tell my whole story at once. We would be here all day. And this conversation is more about litigation and why does it have to happen? And again, it could have been solved with a phone call. So imagine my surprise, truly, in January when I opened my email and I saw was very clearly an email service from a lawyer. You just know. If you know, you know. If you open up your email and you're like, isn't that fun? Mm-hmm. And it was over a matter that honestly could have been solved with a phone call. Really. So very frankly, had he reached out to me and said, Natalie, we need to discuss this. Okay, I may not like it, but I'm not going to ignore it. And there is no reason I deserve to be served. It's like cart before the horse. Try reaching out and talking about it first before you start. Why throw money at lawyers? It continues to boggle my mind every time that this has happened to me. There we go. Sorry. See, these are real raw moments done in one take. I don't edit them. That's proof right there. And there's a reason that this conversation needed to be had. There were mitigating circumstances, and again, stuff that's out of my control. But again, could have been solved in a phone call or an email or a combination thereof. Or even if lawyers had to be involved, a mediation. I, like many people, have parenting order or custody order. And the courts always say that as long as you're in agreement, the custody order is there as a guideline. It's really there to keep people in line who cannot agree, who cannot get along, who cannot be reasonable and rational. That's something that my lawyer in BC, I have two lawyers. I have one in BC and one in Ontario. My lawyer here in BC is like, Natalie, just, it's a guideline. If you guys can't figure it out, but just be an adult, pull up your socks and do the right thing. I mean, he told me that. I'm like, thank you. Yeah. That's the kind of lawyers I have. Ones that do not feed into, yeah, let's go after them and let's make them suffer kind of mentality. So when this happened, my heart sank because it's never a good feeling to be served. Again, if you know, you know. And look, I know there are people watching this video who have not only been served, they've been arrested, they've been falsely accused, they've been jailed, they've been on bail, they've been abused mentally, physically, emotionally. Look, I'm not comparing my situation. This is one modicum of my situation. And I also want to acknowledge that there are all forms of abuse out there, and being served for some might be major, for some might seem minor in the grand scheme, and for some can't even fathom it. So again, just keeping it real raw moment is my story and what I want to share my thoughts about this. So I start to deal with it as pro se, because really it's not that egregious, but it is. Because again, my phone didn't ring, my text didn't go off, and my email didn't ding from the person who is behind this litigation. And as the months have gone on, we are now in August. This was at the end of January. Nothing's resolved, not even close. And in fact, it's gotten worse. Now, again, I've been served by multiple different lawyers, never the same lawyer at the same, again, which is actually a really big red flag. It's always something that you can bring up to your own lawyer if you're in a situation where you continually get served by different lawyers. Often your lawyer may choose to reveal that to the opposing counsel and say, hey, so you're number 5. This person shops around to get whatever lawyer or litigator that's going to serve their purposes best. So just this little back pocket thing. And that actually also came from my lawyer here. He says a massive red flag, I would fire that person as a client. So just keep that in your back pocket for whatever comes up for you. But as time has gone on, this situation has gotten worse. And, I always prided myself, and yeah, pride cometh before a fall, some will say. I've always prided myself in being able to be reasonable and rational, to be able to take the emotion out and to try and find a solution that's going to work. I am not a big F you, take it, I'm going to take you for everything you're worth person. I'm just not. It's not what I coach, it's not what I do, it's not how I live. Then I looked up the opposing counsel. And I actually have two screens here, so you may see me look over here. I'm reading. I'm reading this person's website. Fearless advocate, superior litigator. So what I am seeing going on here is a situation that is now escalating to a degree that what is coming out of it is so absurd. It actually is also obscure, could only have been thought of by a lawyer who's looking for an angle. And yet it keeps going on. The other side is just being led by the nose, paying God only knows what. We all know how much legal costs are. Come on, we all know. We all know. It adds up. Again, to what end and to what purpose for something that could have been solved with a phone call. But now, here we are in the for-profit system. And my ex, now, listen. This does not mean I do not hold my ex accountable for the fact that he could call this off at any time, pick up the phone and call me, email me, text me, send a smoke signal, send a pigeon, and work together towards a resolution. But he's choosing not to do that. So do I blame the litigator entirely, the lawyer? No, she's doing her job, but she's also not doing a great one. She's doing a for-profit job rather than doing what a lawyer should do, which is advise your client for the best, most peaceful and equitable way to resolve a solution. You know, again, our custody order, our parenting order clearly states that before anything like this ever happens, we need to go to mediation if we cannot resolve it on our own. It's being done ass backwards. And this is a problem in the for-profit system because we, the royal we or they, tend to run to litigation, and lawyers want to fire up their jets and say, look at me go. Look at what I can do. Look at what I can defend my client for. Look at what I can get. Look at what I can win. And the thing is, she's harming a lot of people. Now my ex, again, he's a participant. So of course, I do hold him accountable and culpable for this. Again, for a situation. I'm repeating it for everybody in the back row in the cheap seats. You know who you are. It's just not necessary. It's unreasonable. It's unconscionable. And it is driving a for-profit system that is tearing families apart because we seem to think that de facto we need lawyers. De facto it's going to be a fight. De facto it has to hurt. Whether that be separation, divorce, custody, suffering of assets, changes in life. We're being trained to be ready to fight rather than be reasonable and rational. So where am I going with all of this? Well, it's really just to say, I encourage you to think before you go to a lawyer. Now, if you've been served like what I have, of course, you need to defend yourself. But even within that scope, I encourage you to run your own, I won't say defense, your own file. Meaning, don't listen to the lawyers who tell you, well, we're going to litigate. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Yeah, like I said, they want to fire up their jets because that's what they're trained to do. They get excited with litigation. They get excited for the fight. They are built that way. We can't fault them. And if you were in a criminal situation, you would want a litigator to do that for you, obviously, right? To come to your best defense no matter what, to fight for you no matter the cost. But we're doing the same concept in family law where it has no place. We're making criminals out of people. And criminal, I mean like in the mindset, and actually making criminals out of some people for a sense of vengeance that has no place. We're adults, everybody. We are parents. We signed on to protect our children at virtually all cost. And we got married or partnered with somebody with the same kind of promise. So, pick up the phone. Can't do that? Write the email. Be reasonable and rational. Try to resolve it before you go down the road of what I'm going through. Let me know your comments below.